Hello, I'm Bob Henriquez from the Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's Office, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government, and we have a government agency with us today, Bob Henriquez. Bob, good to see you.
It's good to see you. Thanks so much for having me.
Hillsborough County Property Appraiser.
Yes, sir.
You're the guy that goes around and we all try to make our house look shabby so you don't raise the taxes?
Yeah. Well, I suppose so. We try to go and make sure that we have everybody's values correct and we're fair and equitable.
I've always thought that there's something wrong here. I agree taxing the more expensive properties, but somebody lets their property go down.
Right.
We give them a tax break for letting it slide.
Well, remember that when we're looking...
I know you don't control that, Bob.
Remember, we use largely a sales comparison approach. I would imagine that over the course of time, as the value would fall. But usually at some point when the market's good, someone's going to come in and buy that property up and bring it back up to code. And that's one of the things that we'll check as we go through our, we're by law required to physically inspect every property in Hillsborough County. That's 500,000 properties or so. Every 5 years, we do it over a 4-year cycle.
Really?
Yeah. So
you actually go to every property in Hillsborough County?
Well, the old way of doing business was we literally physically went to each property, and that really amounted to, and you'll see our cars out, which by the way now we have Priuses. So we're saving a lot of money in gas and fuel and those kinds of things, and maintenance and repairs. But the old way was the drive-by. You'd see our cars out, and we literally would go and take a look at the property. State law allows us now to utilize enhanced aerial photography and technology to do a portion of that at a desktop, and we found it to be incredibly successful. We do probably about 60% of our inspections now utilizing street views, Google Street Views, and as well as aerial photography. And then when we find things that either there's tree canopies or something that we need to check out, then we'll send somebody on a special check. But we really we've created, along with a vendor, a state-of-the-art process that actually we've received national awards as a result of it, and had a number of other states as well as even some other countries come and take a look at our process.
That's really fascinating because I use Google Street View quite often for various things, trips and things of that nature, and even to look at my own property. And the fact is, I can go back, not just what it is today, but I go back and see what it was. So you've got a great comparison there. Yeah,
part of what we'll do is we've got over the course of history a few years, so we can look and see if there's an addition there that wasn't there before. We have aerial views, not what are called the orthos, which are the overhead shots, as well as the obliques, which are the side views, 360, so we can go around the property. And those are, by the way, those pictures are available on our website, so folks can take a look at them. They're great for various real estate professionals or just individuals that are interested in looking at the property.
Is there any programs that are currently there that actually find additions and changes to property? We
do. What we do is literally we take the overhead shots, the orthos, and we then overlay the traverses, the drawings that we have in our system. And then that creates a series of mismatches. So one of the things as our folks are doing this desktop review process, which we call Geo Viewport, they have 2 large screens, and they actually have one screen that'll show in a neighborhood based on the difference, based on square footage. So if let's say that there's an addition on there, there's a living room or something that for whatever reason fell through the cracks or we didn't have, it'll probably show up as a red, something that doesn't match. And then that gives us a good starting point to go and take a look at those properties and try to find out what was there and why we don't have it, or if we have to, send somebody out to take a look at it.
That's fascinating.
It really is.
It seems to me to be a very, very good use of technology
Well, and what's great about it, Bill, honestly, is that we've found literally millions of dollars of value that should have been on the tax roll that wasn't. At the same time, we've found a great deal of value that's been on the tax roll that people have been paying taxes on that shouldn't have been there. We found pools that were no longer, that had been filled in, that were still on there. Things like that you may not notice because you pay it through escrow. It's a small amount, but over the years it adds up. So literally for every $3 of additional value that we found $1 should be taken off. And in those cases, we transmit that information to the Department of Revenue. So in some cases, people actually are getting tax refunds as a result of that.
I remember probably 4 or 5 years ago when you first took office, we did a show like this.
That's
and
right.
I thought, well,
that's one of the things that we talked about then that we wanted to put in place, and we have, and it's been wildly successful. We don't have drones, though. I'll tell you. Somebody keeps asking me that. No, we're not doing that. No drone technology.
But I outsmarted myself. Well, it worked out pretty well because housing values were falling, and I thought, well, my property's falling. I want to take advantage of the fact that it is. And your guys came out and did a very thorough inspection. It's all the outside. It's not the inside.
Right. We measured the outside.
The outside.
Right, that's right.
And as he walked around the property, he went down to the dock area, and there was a pad, cement pad there. And he said, that's not on.
Oh, okay. And we found it.
That pad had been there since the house was built, and for some reason it had never got listed, and I got zapped.
Oh, well, only going forward, though. I'm sure we didn't backtax you.
No.
So, well, that's the kind of thing with this technology we're able to find. Docks, things, again, before it was a street view, it was literally a drive-by dashboard inspection. And so the things that are in the back, we obviously wouldn't have time or necessarily even permission to go in the back and see those kinds of things. What it's really doing is cleaning up and making a fair and equitable tax roll. After 4 years, we will have gone through the entire county this way. And it'll be, I think then we will have found the majority of things that probably should have been there that weren't, and vice versa.
Well, some people are pretty slick at hiding things, and I'm sure you've seen that all the way along.
Well, it's kind of hard to add an addition to your house, but
what I do on the inside doesn't change the value as far as you're concerned.
Certain things can. Bathroom counts, something like that. If you go to sell your property and if that kind of thing changes, bedroom counts not so much. We base our assessment on square footage, on base living square footage. So because we'll get calls sometimes, sometimes it's realtors or listing agents, sometimes homeowners themselves that'll see on our website something like, oh, you have our house listed or home listed as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's actually 4, or something like that. We want to know those things and we'll change it, but it doesn't necessarily change the value of your home. You're correct.
Let's talk about something that a lot of people are interested in, and that's the things that will reduce the cost
Of course.
of my taxes. And I guess that's an important factor to draw right there. You are not the tax collector.
No, that's the tax collector is the guy or gal that they write badly about in the Bible, right? Property appraiser's nowhere in there. No, in all seriousness, no. The tax collector, and the process on its most basic level is that we value all of the property in Hillsborough County. Again, about 500,000 parcels. And then from that, then we determine any exemptions or other reductions that people are entitled to on their ad valorem tax assessment. And then we transfer all that information to the taxing authorities. Taxing authorities being City of Tampa, Hillsborough County, various authorities, Temple Terrace, you name it.
Schools, whatever.
School board, exactly. They're the ones that actually set the millage based on their projected revenue that they need to make their budgets, whatever it may be.
So actually, all you do is set the valuation
Right.
for the property.
And that's a very important
That's
portion, certainly, that's a very important portion of the overall process, but we're not in the revenue business.
But even that is set up by statute.
Largely by statute.
How you do that.
Right, and well, there's similar to fee appraisal, although we're in a mass appraisal world, again, 500,000 properties. We're going to use the 3 approaches to value: sales comparison approach, income, or cost approach. But at the same time, once we finish with that information, and again, we're going to put all that information into our computers and come up with the numbers, the taxing authorities are going to decide what the millage needs to be for their revenue. And then the tax collector is then going to go out and collect the taxes once it comes out. So in
With a
September,
little black bag.
well, in September, we're going to send out the trim notices, and it's funny because most times I'll say, "Did you receive a trim notice from me?" And people will say, "Oh, absolutely." So, "Well, did you read it?" And they'll say, "Well, no," and because at the top of it says this is not a bill, right?
Oh.
So, but all of the information that kind of goes into that mix that ends up being your taxes at the end of the process are on that. It's very important that people pay attention to that trim notice, and that's a good time for people to come and ask us if there's something they find on there. There's an exemption that's missing, or the numbers just don't seem to add up, or there's been a big increase in their proposed taxes. That's a good time to get with us on an administrative level, and it also is very important from a more formal aspect that they have then a period of time to actually formally appeal their taxes in the Value Adjustment Board process.
And if somebody doesn't feel their taxes are right, you will send someone out, correct?
Oh, absolutely, and we prefer to do that, and we do that, thousands of times a year. Now we'll receive somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 or so formal appeals. Then we will then again take another look at those. We try to solve as many of those as we can prior to them going into the Value Adjustment Board process. But that's sort of an ongoing process that starts in September and goes through. Well, we still have a few outstanding ones, but generally January, February time frame. The tax bills themselves go out in November. And then, of course, if you pay early, you get a little bit of a break. And then come March, you receive, you kind of reach the point that you have to go ahead and pay your property taxes each year and so on and so forth.
Let's talk about exemptions.
Absolutely.
Everybody thinks of taxes and they don't think of exemptions many times. What are some of the exemptions that Florida taxpayers can claim?
Well, the one that people know the most about is your homestead exemption. And of course, that's up to $50,000 on your primary residence. Primary being the home that you deem to be your primary residence. It doesn't necessarily mean that you live there the majority of the time, but you can only have one of them, and you deem that. So if you have more than one house or a residence, you deem that to be your homestead. So that's the one that most people, and we probably have in the neighborhood of 300,000 or so.
And one has to be a Florida resident in order to be able to claim that, correct?
Correct. You'd have to claim it as your Florida. You can't have one in Connecticut or someplace else. And so that's the one that most people know about. And there have been some changes over the years to that. Of course, once you are homesteaded, you also are then protected by the Save Our Homes cap, which now says that your taxable value can't go up more than 3% in any given year, or inflation, whichever is less. So this past year it was 2.1%. It had gone up a little bit. In the past years it was less than 1%, or hovering around that 1%. So there's a difference between your fair or just market value and your taxable value. And as the course of time goes on, the longer you own your home, the longer you're protected. Obviously there's a difference there. That difference between your fair or just market value and your taxable value is actually the amount that you can port to your next home if you wish to lower your initial taxable value on your new homes. That's important too.
So let's explain that a little more.
Well, that's the concept of portability. Back when the Save Our Homes cap came into existence, the constitutional amendment was trying to address the problem that values were going up so quickly that people were, quote, being taxed, particularly seniors and savers, taxed out of their homes. And because if your taxable value, the value of your home went from $50,000 to $150,000 over the course of, boom, your taxes went up incrementally. Yeah. Sure. So Save Our Homes said that your taxable value couldn't go up, as I say, more than 3% or inflation, and so your adjusted market value could go up that 3 times over the course of 2 or 3 years, but your taxable value would stay down here. Well, it had an unintended consequence that then people had this great tax incentive, but really they couldn't move. They were kind of stuck because they didn't want to lose that low tax number that they may have, or the benefit they'd accrued.
Buy a new one at twice that money. And
so then the realtors and chamber and other folks got together in the legislature back in 2009 and passed a statute for portability that allowed you to then take a portion of that savings, up to $500,000, and take it to your next home, either to upsize or downsize. If you downsize, it's a percentage of that tax. So again, that differential between the two, to lower your initial taxable value. So let's say you buy the new home, you have $100,000 in tax savings that you can port. Well, then you can lower. Let's say the new home is valued at $350,000. You can lower that home down to $250,000 as your taxable value.
Oh, okay.
And then reset your cap to start all over again accruing cap. Interestingly, it didn't mean a whole lot back when at the time it was passed because we were still in the downturn of Great Recession. But now we're seeing, almost everyone is accruing cap space at this point, and it's important that people. And we have a tax estimator on our website, and also we can get to folks and let them know, and it's on their tax or they're in their trim notice the amount that their tax or their amount that they have to port. Those are things that are important for folks to know, particularly if they're in the market to sell a new home or if they're upsizing, downsizing. Become an empty nester, those kinds of things.
You mentioned that on the exemptions, that the homestead exemption, we just passed that date, but that isn't a closed door.
Right. Most of the exemptions and tax abatement things that people can apply for have a March deadline. In all honesty, it's sort of a soft deadline. There has to be a deadline, I guess, and
sure.
But we can actually take late filed applications on homestead, and we wish to. We want folks, everything, and it's really important philosophically from my standpoint that we work every bit as hard to try to provide folks the opportunity to get the tax savings and the things that they're entitled to, as we do to try to find the ones that are taking advantage of the system. Maybe they have two homesteads or gaming the system. So we try to get that information out everywhere we can, like shows like this. But bottom line is, up until, and as I mentioned, your trim notice goes out, and then there's a period of time after that. So really, you have really up till September to file a late filed application between March and September. So if some reason you've bought a new home, or you've transferred your homestead, or wish to make some changes, or you think that that there's one of the other exemptions, which there's a whole myriad of them for folks that are injured, combat-related injuries. I know that you have that exemption.
That was something I wasn't aware of, and I just happened to be poking around and found out that if you're service-related with the disability, all you have to do is take the paper down, show it to your clerk.
That's right, and that's one of the ones that's passed in recent years. And we've seen a whole host of new exemptions that have come out for surviving spouses of folks that have lost first responders and folks that have lost their life protecting the nation, those kinds of things. There's a widower exemption, blind disability, or different disabilities. So there's a number of things. You can look on our website. There's a list of all those. If you think that you may qualify for those, give us a call or go by one of our branch locations, and we'll go over it with the person. And all of those pretty much track that same deadline that you can apply for those throughout the year. So if for some reason we've passed that March deadline, we'll still try to work with you on that.
I went to the South County offices down there in Sun City.
Absolutely.
And honestly, the lady couldn't have been more helpful. She just did everything possible to get me through and done.
I'll tell you, my staff does a great job of making me look good.
Let's talk about your staff.
Absolutely.
How big a staff is it?
Well, when I came in, now going on 5 years ago, this is my second term, we had 130 FTEs or employees. We weren't at full employment, but that's how many we had in terms of our budget. We now have 121. And literally, if you think about over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, what's happened in the economy and in our market, so we literally are doing more with less by using technology, cross-training, finding ways to maximize our human capital as well as the technology that may be out there. So we have 121 employees.
All driving Priuses.
No, not all of them. Only that's our field staff. With the exception of the folks that go out and do our ag work, our greenbelt stuff, the Priuses don't do very well when you're driving back in the back 40 of the farm. But and that's an interesting. You brought up the Priuses. It's interesting, and that's kind of thinking outside the box, Bill, of what we've done. We used to buy our cars, and so when I first came in the office and we started going over budgetary things, the folks said, well, we need to buy about 10 cars. We've got a bunch of cars that are about to go out of service. I said, why are we buying cars? I mean, we lease copiers, we lease all kinds of other things. This is just a piece of office equipment, even though it's a vehicle. Sure. Rather than taking it, driving it for 10 years into the ground, and then having to buy a new one, why don't we lease something? It'll build in the maintenance and all those kind of things. And we found it's been much more cost effective, and it now allows us, in fact, we're coming up on our second, after 3 years when the leases run out, now we have the opportunity, we can downsize or upsize the fleet. We'll actually be downsizing. Otherwise, we'd be stuck with the cars.
All those cars, yeah.
And because we're doing less field work rather than more. And so again, it's a matter of efficiencies, and so it's worked out very well.
What do you think is your proudest achievement in the 5 years now that you've been in office?
Well, I'm very proud of what we've done in terms of bringing the office into really to the cutting edge of technology. We've been honored with some national awards as well as what's called the CEA, the Certificate of Excellence in Appraisal Administration, through our governing body, which is IAAO, the International Assessing Officers Organization. It's the highest designation that you can receive for an office like ours.
Really?
There's thousands of offices like ours across the country and actually internationally, and only about 35 of those actually have this designation. And it really speaks.
Well, that's really something.
It really speaks to the quality of the people and the work that we've done there. So I'm very proud of that. And we found ways, I think, to make our office more efficient. And it's also a better office. You've utilized our customer service. We brought in a concept, a private sector concept of customer service-centric office. So everyone, including myself, is a customer service agent. And that's serving not just the public, but serving each other. So we've done a lot of things to move our office forward. When I first spoke with you, we had about 30% of our office in DROP, the deferred retirement programs of the state. So we were losing a lot of longtime employees, very
Sure.
that really, and we had to create succession planning, cross-training opportunities for folks to move within the office, and now the 30% is over 30% of people that have received promotions that they've earned through this process. So we think the office is more nimble. It's being a good steward of the people's money, as well as providing just we think state-of-the-art and as fine a property appraiser's office as there is in the nation right now. That's our goal. So I'm very proud of it.
Well, you must be getting close to it with only 35 offices out of thousands.
Yeah.
Having that designation.
That's right, and it's something that's ongoing. We'll have to then again, coming up next year, recertify. So it's something that'll keep us, making sure that we're constantly improving our processes.
I think that one thing I've noticed about you is you're a people person.
I appreciate that.
A lot of people judge by stone and brick and mortar and things, and they think that's what makes a good office. Copiers, equipment. But you've always, right from the very beginning, expressed the desire to grow people.
No, there's no doubt about it. And we really are on when you start to look at the intangibles an office like ours, frankly, our constitutional charge to be fair and equitable, to pass a tax roll that can be certified by the state, those things are pretty much set by statute within certain parameters. But to be able to say that you're going a step further, that you're providing, it's not a matter. So there are terms like world-class customer service. That's a nice thing to talk about. The truth is, you just want to provide the service that people expect. And one of the things, communication is very important for us. You want to communicate with the public, with our stakeholders, with the taxpayers and property owners of Hillsborough County in the ways that they want to be communicated with. There's still folks that want to go down, like you did, down to the office and sit with a human being. There's other folks that don't want to see another human being the rest of their life. So we've really improved our digital footprint and what we do in terms of social media, in terms of our website is a state-of-the-art website that provides a great deal of information both to real estate professionals as well as individuals that are interested in their assessments. And so that's been very, very important to us as well. We also have done numerous YouTube videos. I got the idea to do that because I fixed my dryer rather than I was kind of hard-headed and said, I don't want to have to go pay for a new dryer. And it's just the belt broke. So I went on YouTube and sure enough, here's the same kind of dryer that I have. And so
Yeah.
There was a couple skin knuckles and a few Spanish curse words, and I got it done. So we.
By the way, your office is bilingual.
Yes. Well, we've got.
That's an important thing.
Well, it is, and we have a lot of folks that it's a matter of communication, and our website is translated as well, and all of our materials.
You also hit one of my hot buttons when you talked about doing what people want you to do. I've constantly said to people, it's only help if you're doing what I want you to do.
Well, let me be clear. We can't.
If you're not doing what I want you to do, it's not help.
Well, for the most part, people call. They're interested. They want their questions answered. They want a human being to answer the phone, and they want to feel like they've been listened to, and that should be treated fairly and equitably. And they know. I think that sometimes they may not get the answer that they want, but they're going to receive an answer that's fair and one that they can then, when they hang up, feel better about it. And if not, we're going to try to go the extra mile to work with folks.
One of my father's favorite sayings, and he had a lot of them, was some people complain if they're hung with a brand new rope. You know? And there are those people out there, you just can't police them. You want me to hang myself, shoot myself? What does you want me to do? The law says I have to do this.
It's funny, I from time to time with our phone system, we're on a cloud, and when things are really busy, not all the time, but sometimes calls will end up routed through my office just by accident or whatever, and I could easily just ignore them. Somebody will answer it. But I answer, my phone rings and I'll answer, and they'll be surprised that I answered it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and well, the phone rang. You have you answer if it rings, right? I used to, when I was in the legislature, it happened numerous times that I would answer my phone. My aide was away from their desk or whatever, and I would answer it, and they'd say, well, I'm calling to complain to Representative Henriquez. And then I'd say, well, you're speaking to him, and they would almost drop the phone. Like, yeah. So it's, you know, so I guess that's
I promised you a minute or so to talk directly with our audience. And for those that voted for you, to thank them. For those that didn't vote for you, I'm not going to raise your taxes.
Well, no, absolutely.
So would you like to do that?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Thank you, Bill.
Take a minute.
First of all, I want to thank you, Bill, and thank you for this opportunity again. It's always great to see you. And I know you've had a couple of health concerns. I hope you feel better and hang in there and be here next time we're here as well. So for the residents and the property owners of Hillsborough County, I just want to thank you for the blessing that I have to serve you once again as your Hillsborough County property appraiser. I can tell you, it's easy to say. The mayor may say he has the best job in government. I think that I have the best job, and we're just striving every day to do the best that we can to be good stewards of your tax dollars and provide the best service that we can. If you have any issues at all with your assessments, if you have questions, if you're in the market to buy a home or sell a home, and you have questions related to how what the taxes may be or those kinds of things, give us a call. Go on our website. All the information is there. We have a tax estimator if you're in the process of buying a home. And I will tell you that's very, very important, because sometimes the information you may get from Zillow or even from your real estate agent may not be accurate. So buyer beware. Let us know. We're here to serve you. And again, I thank you for this blessing and this time with you here today.
Well, we're blessed to have you in the office. You're obviously doing a great job, because there's no huge rebellion of people out there with pitchforks.
Yeah, the more boring we are, the better.
YouTube, I think that is wonderful. We've got about a minute, but that, to me, more people ought to use it, because that's my go-to. When I get ready to cook up Christmas dinner, I'll go to YouTube and check how do I do this particular vegetable or that.
Yeah.
And the ability to have things like your office on YouTube to give me ideas is a wonderful suggestion. I think it's great. More office holders ought to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Just don't Twitter.
No. We do tweet, but it's nothing. Yeah.
Not at 3 in the morning, right?
Not at 3 in the morning, and not when I'm angry with anything. No, we again, it's a matter of communication, and we do have a Facebook page, and you may see things on there that are deadlines, things that are important that you need to know. Maybe something about a certain thing that's going on out there. But
I'm going to have you back. Will you
anytime, absolutely. You
Bob,
make the call, and I'll be here. Absolutely.
Property Appraiser, Hillsborough County. Thanks for being on the show. You're special, you're unique, you're great. Tell yourself so often, because you are, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Bob, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.